My name is David Baker. I want to put $175 into a bank's main branch counter. Usually, I go to a smaller branch, but this time I had work near the main office, so I decided to go there. The main office and the smaller branches are the same bank, but when I went up to the counter, a new bank employee thought I didn't have much money and said, "Hey, aren't you a poor man? It's faster to deposit using the machine. Look, it's right there. Don't bother anyone. Just do it yourself." I replied, "No, I don't trust machines." "You don't trust machines in this day and age? Seriously, are you like Rip Van Winkle or something?" The bank employee said, "No, I was just kidding. Just kidding. Don't you get a joke? Just don't come to the counter. It's a hassle. The counter is for more important stuff. You're probably not depositing much anyway, being poor and all. It's really a bother. But that's your job, isn't it?" I asked. "Sure, it's my job, but I'm not here just for you, old man. If you want to deposit, make it a larger amount, then I'd be happy to help. Can't you just do your job?" I asked. "No way. It's just a bother. People like you make my job harder. You think we'll do anything at the counter? That's a mistake. Other banks would accept my deposit, then go to another bank. I don't want to. I mean, you're just going to use it soon anyway, right? What's the point of depositing such a small amount? It makes no sense. It's up to the customer to decide if it's meaningful, right?" I argued. "Now you always have something to say. That's why I dislike old guys." "So arrogant," the bank employee retorted. "What did you say?" I snapped back. All right, fine. I'll make the deposit. Just fill out this form and bring it here," the employee said reluctantly. I thought he was incredibly rude, but since I was there, I filled out the deposit slip and brought it to the counter. Aha, just as I thought. What's this? $300? That's why I hate deposits from poor people. $175 is still money. It's a bank after all. You should accept whatever amount the customer wants to deposit, I said, feeling frustrated. The bank employee replied, "Look, at least deposit like $10,000. If you can't even do that, what's the point of coming to the counter? Otherwise, just use the machine. It's much easier once you get the hang of it." "I prefer the counter," I insisted. "Why are you so stubborn? You drive a car, right?" the employee asked. "Yes, of course," I replied. "What's the difference between that and the machine? You use a smartphone normally, right? Then you can use that machine too. I'll make the deposit this time, but next time, please use the machine," the employee said firmly. I was getting increasingly irritated by his attitude, but I figured arguing back with such a young guy would only make me look foolish. So, I just scowled. Why do poor people always make such troublesome deposits? It's so clear that you're poor. Look, you've been calling me poor for a while now. Don't you think that's rude? I questioned. Why would I think that? It's true, after all. I mean, coming to the bank in work clothes, that's like screaming, "I'm super poor," the bank employee replied casually. "Maybe I'm actually incredibly wealthy, you know? Cut the jokes, man. Come on. No rich guy comes in work clothes. That's just impossible. That's because I stop by while working. So you're a blue-collar worker, right? Rich folks don't do that kind of work, you know? Rich people like lawyers or doctors don't come in work clothes. You won't see a lawyer in work clothes, that's for sure. They wear suits for their work, don't they?" Exactly. So, those who dress like that are the ones making the money. People like you who always do physical labor will always be poor. Do you treat everyone with this attitude? Of course not. I treat the rich like rich and the poor like poor. Why would I waste VIP treatment on someone who doesn't deposit much? That's just ridiculous. So, does this bank choose its customers? Ah, this is the main branch after all. Poor folks should go to the smaller branches. They'd be thrilled to get a $175 deposit. You really have a terrible attitude, rude. I've never met a bank employee as rude as you. I only become rude because of people like you. We handle lots of customers here. Can't afford to be nice to every poor person. If you want better service, deposit a large sum." As I muttered this, the teller loudly made a sarcastic comment. Man, why are there so many poor folks? I'm not working here for them, you know? It's really annoying, tiring, really. and they complain about bad service. They should cut it out with the jokes. Why would you bother depositing $175 at the counter? Ridiculous. I'm sick of this job. Why should I have to bow to poor folks? They're probably on a tight budget anyway and shouldn't even be at a bank. My anger was nearing its breaking point at his venomous words. Here you go, old man. The deposit is done. Next time, learn how to use the machine. Looking around, everyone at the counter seemed downcast despite hearing his words. No one seemed to intervene. Old man, move. Get out of here. Enough already. That's when my anger exploded. I shouted so loudly that other customers looked at me. What's your problem, old man? I spent time helping you, and you yell. If you don't like it, poor people like you shouldn't come to the main branch. I see, all right, that's enough, I said, pulling out my phone and calling my usual branch. Let me talk to the branch manager. Is this the manager? This is David. I'm canceling my company's $13 billion corporate account. Yes, make sure it can be canceled immediately. After saying this and hanging up, the man in front of me was wide-eyed. I thought to myself, now he'll realize I'm wealthy. But to my surprise, he burst out laughing. What are you doing pretending to be rich? A corporate account with $13 billion? Man, you think I'd be surprised? That's impossible. Poor people's fantasies are just like that. What a show. Did you just call your wife to pretend? Feeling like playing a role at your age? He laughed uproariously. I just stared at him silently. I knew his laughter would soon turn into a strained expression. I was looking forward to that moment. Sure enough, the branch manager came running over. Mr. David, is there anything wrong? Who are you? I asked. I'm the manager of this main branch. I just heard from your branch about your corporate account cancellation. I've come to talk to you personally. Well, you're too late. I've already decided to cancel. Please, could we, talk in the back? There must be some misunderstanding. No, there's no misunderstanding, manager. Why are you bowing to this old man? He's just a poor guy. Bowing to him won't get you anything. No, Michael, that's rude. What's rude? It's a waste to spend time on a poor person. It's pointless. Could you be quiet for a moment? For some reason, the manager did not yell at or reprimand this man named Michael. He even seemed to be pushed around by him. This was no way to foster proper personnel.
I'm terribly sorry.
Could you please come to the back so we can talk? That won't change anything. Please, let's talk over this. The manager, almost clinging, bowed his head and grabbed my arm. Please, Mr. David, just let me have a word with you. Seeing the manager's desperate state, I agreed to talk and headed to the back. As I followed the manager, we entered a small reception room where a secretary had prepared fancy cakes and tea. I sat on the sofa, arms crossed, without touching any of the offered items. Mr. David, was there an issue? I received a call from your branch. If it's okay, I'd like to hear about it. It's fine. Well, the problem is that man, Michael. Yes, I usually go to a different branch, but today I was around here and wanted to make a deposit. The service was so bad that I thought about closing my account. He ridiculed me for being poor and said depositing just $175 was a hassle. That happened? And why did no one say anything when he was spouting such abuse? Yes, it was incredibly rude. Like, for example, I'd rather not repeat it. Why don't you ask the female employee sitting next to him? Everyone there must have heard it. I see. Is the main branch really that superior? It's quite shocking.
I'm terribly sorry.
As you see, your apology doesn't change much. If this is the bank's policy, there's little I can say. I'll make sure he understands not to do this again. No need. The manager was desperately apologizing and wiping off cold sweat with a handkerchief, while the person in question remained cool and composed. He seemed oblivious to the fact that the situation had arisen because of himself. Instead, he blurted out something absurd. Man, manager, why are you bowing so much to this guy? I heard earlier. But what's with this old man, Michael? I mean, it's clear he's poor. Why belittle yourself like that? We're the main branch, after all. It doesn't matter if it's the main branch or not. He's a customer. Besides, this gentleman is the CEO of a major corporation, one of our biggest clients. What? That's ridiculous. How could this old man be the CEO of a major company? Manager, aren't you being foolish? Michael, the foolish one here is you. Apologize. Otherwise, our bank could be in trouble if we don't keep the $13 billion transaction as is. That's not going to happen. That $13 billion is a lie. That's not a lie. The manager's voice rose, and the tension in the room became palpable. Finally, Michael lost his temper. However, as soon as he spoke, he seemed to startle himself into silence. Moreover, it seemed like the manager was gauging Michael's reaction. I watched him intently, trying to figure out what kind of person he was. He's just new. He doesn't understand things yet. So, just because he's new, it's okay for him not to understand things? No, not at all. Hey you. What? Old man. Michael. He's not just some old man, is he? Are you a new employee? Kind of, but that doesn't matter. I'm the CEO's grandson. The CEO's grandson? Yeah, that's right. The CEO's grandson. So, whatever I do is right. I see. So, that's why you act that way. You've always been allowed to do whatever you wanted, huh? That's right. And because you're the president's grandson, everyone, including your colleagues and bosses, just turn a blind eye, right?
I'm sorry.
This way, there's no chance for new employees to grow. You're absolutely right. Man, why are you being so high and mighty? It's obvious that the CEO's grandson is the most important person in the bank. That's why nobody says anything to me. What's the problem with that? Are you just jealous? I don't feel jealous. If anything, I feel content. What did you say? So, you think just because you're the CEO's grandson, you can do whatever you want? Of course. There's no one else here with as big a connection as me. Connections. So, without them, you'd just be a nobody, right? What? Connections are a talent, too? Connections are a talent? That's ridiculous. So, even if there's a $13 billion deal, I'm still more important than you. You think you're more important than the customer, obviously. You think it's okay to label customers as poor without knowing anything about them? I don't know if it's okay, but I don't see a problem with it. I've seen many poor people, and none have ever complained about how I treat them. So, that must mean I'm right. Poor people can't win against the rich, right? They don't have the pride to stand up to them, so rich people like me always win. I'm so sorry. He's still not understanding things. I'm terribly sorry for the inconvenience. Please, just let this one slide. I'll make sure he's properly trained. Please, no, manager. This isn't about him not understanding. It's about the disrespect. How can you expect us to overlook this when we've been so displeased? You want us to overlook this just because he's a new employee? He's a bank employee before anything else. You're right, Michael. Apologize. Apologize now. Why should I apologize? If you want to apologize so badly, you do it, manager. It's got nothing to do with me. I'm not in the wrong. Michael, that's why I'm canceling the $13 billion. I can do it here, right? Yes, but please reconsider. Losing all $13 billion at once. Tell that to him. I was planning to keep it here, but his attitude and the way you treat the CEO's grandson changed my mind. Yes, but withdrawing everything at once. It's fine. Please put it in this bank. I said this and placed another bank's passbook on the table. This bank. $13 billion. Yes, I don't mind. This bank is small, but they treat me well. I prefer it much more than keeping my money here. Understood. After the procedure, I stood up and left the room. After I left, the manager seemed to reach his limit. Michael, what have you done? What's up, manager? No need to get so red and angry. It's not just any customer. He was a vital client. If we lose that $13 billion contract, our bank will go under. Banks don't go under. Are you serious?
Yes.
Of course. Banks don't collapse. I've never heard of a bank failing. And the CEO also said, banks don't fail. It's a safe and secure job. What are you talking about? Don't you know other banks have failed? And not just a few, but dozens of them? The myth that banks can't fail has long since vanished. That's only for the other banks. Man, why worry about that? It's not impossible for it to happen. It's fine. Enough. Whether you're the CEO's grandson or not, this is a job. What? What you did is unacceptable for a bank employee and as a member of society. If you keep thinking like that, not only will the bank fail, but everyone in all of the bank's branches will be out on the streets. Think about that. As the CEO's grandson, are you that clueless? Intimidated by the manager's anger, even Michael was taken aback. His previous confident manner had vanished, replaced by a flustered state. But I mean, how was I supposed to know? With the way he was dressed, there's no way to tell he was wealthy. If you didn't know, why didn't you ask a senior colleague? But he looked like a poor person. So what if he's poor? A poor person is still a customer. But everyone says during break times that poor people coming to the counter is a nuisance. The small deposits mean more work. That's why I said it. For everyone's sake. The counter work is busy enough as it is. That everyone says that is a mistake. But saying it to a customer is an even bigger mistake. But it was only $175. It's a waste of time. That's why I suggested using the machine. But that guy just didn't get it. Enough. You're fired. What? Fired? That can't be. I'm the CEO's grandson. I'll talk to the CEO about this. No way. Getting fired over something like this? That can't be. This kind of thing? What do you mean, this kind of thing? If you don't want to be fired, then get that $13 billion cancellation revoked. No way. Why am I being scolded like this? I'm the CEO's grandson. Seemingly shocked at being scolded for the first time, Michael was quite surprised. And his reaction wasn't to come and apologize to me, but to go crying to his grandfather. Grandpa, help me. What is it, Mike? Help me. Is this about Mr. David's $13 billion? Yeah, exactly. The manager is trying to fire me. There's no way. That's right. I did nothing wrong. So why should I be fired? You think you did nothing wrong? You caused a loss of $13 billion. You're lucky that getting fired is all that's happening. Grandpa, what are you saying? Your grandson is getting fired. Can't you cancel the firing? Even as the CEO, that's impossible. Why? No matter what, if you ultimately, Michael failed to secure the contract worth $13 billion. As a result, he was fired from the bank, losing the label of being the CEO's grandson. No longer enjoying special treatment, Michael was disowned by his parents and had to work on his own for the first time. Despite trying various jobs, none worked out well, and he now spends his days being yelled at in a factory. After I canceled the contract for the $13 billion in my corporate account, I immediately signed a contract with another bank. Sure enough, when it comes to a contract worth $13 billion, every bank bows down. It was a contract made in a special room. However, what mattered to me wasn't the special treatment. After this incident, I started going to the bank more often in my work clothes. I was curious to see how someone who had given up the title of CEO would be treated. Surprisingly, this new bank treated me entirely differently from the last one. As I wondered if this bank was kind to everyone, I witnessed a particular scene one day. An elderly woman came in. She didn't appear wealthy at all, arriving while pulling a shopping cart. She walked with a tottering gait, seemingly uncomfortable with the machines. She approached the counter and handed over $100 to the woman at the counter, expressing her desire to deposit it. Despite being explained that using the ATM would be faster, she admitted her inability to use it. Then, the woman at the counter smiled warmly and said, "It can be a bit tricky, can it?" As she handed over the deposit slip, the woman asked, "Could you please fill this out and bring it back?" But the elderly lady, unable to see, explained her vision impairment. It's a natural part of aging to experience vision loss. Now, what kind of response will the bank give? As I was thinking this, a customer service representative called over an employee to teach the elderly woman how to fill out the form carefully. Once she managed to fill it out, they connected her to the service counter. The bank staff also exchanged words, saying thank you, and please take care of this. The staff guided the elderly lady to a chair and asked her to sit and wait. However, when her name was called, she did not respond to the voice. And there, once again, the same guide appeared. The attendant said, "You've been called. Please go over there." As they guided her to the counter, after the entire process was completed, The elderly lady repeatedly expressed her gratitude verbally. The bank employee, with an unceasing smile, bid her farewell, saying, "Take care." Witnessing this heartwarming scene, I felt assured that depositing a large sum in this bank